Hey, what's up guys, and I'm back with something new for you guys to enjoy. What if Naruto was taken from his family and experimented on? Yes guys. If you want more, just sit back, relax, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to go ahead and check out the original link down in the description. And also guys, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, I have 5 channels. Anime King, Anime King 2, 3, Anime Prince, and Anime Symbol. If you want what ifs, yeah, just go ahead and check them out. They would be down in the description as well, the links for all channels. And also if you want your what if to be done by me, go ahead and check out Anime Symbol. And just comment on the latest video and have a chance for it to be placed in a poll and done personally by me guys. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. So without further ado, why don't we jump into this brand new series, shall we guys? Let's begin now. What exactly is the definition of the word shinobi? People ask themselves that question on numerous occasions. Some believe that a shinobi is a being who shut his emotion off and become the perfect killing machine, a monster that would do whatever it takes to complete his mission and always listen to his superior. Others would say no. They believe that a shinobi is someone that protects the weak and the innocent, risking their own life to do so. However, throughout the ages, the definition is never always set in stone. There is always something else. But shinobis are special. They use chakra. Chakra is an energy that has long since been with this world. If theories are to believe, it is said that a lonely princess was tired of all the wars and chaos. So she decided to put a stop to it by eating a forbidden fruit from a tree from the gods. Upon eating that, the princess known as Kaguya Osusuke, she became a goddess and she had the power to put a stop to the war. She had 2 sons. Both of them inherited her power, Hagoromo and Hamura Osusuke. Both powerful boys. Eventually though, she became power hungry and mad with power. So they worked together and trapped her away inside of the moon. Hagoromo was also considered to be a god. People call him the Sage of Six Paths. The powers were passed on to their children, going through their lineage. The sage spread his teaching on Ninshu. That is what they had called chakra back then. He was trying to help them to minimize the violence and chaos around them. However, it was a mistake, because people start to use it for ninjutsu, and they start to wage war and even more chaos, and they became even more destructive. Over time, the war came down to just the clans that were separated all around. However, the Senjus and Uchihas came together to form the first hidden village, known as Konoha, the village in the hidden leaf. Several others came as well, and 5 of them stood tall out of the others, known as the 5 great nations. Throughout the ages, there has been 3 wars. The first war came to an end with a treaty, as the 5 nations had been severely weakened. However, a few years after that, the economical system, it started to go down once again, and they start to have some serious problems. Conflicts start to rise as the countries start to expand their territories. That was a problem for the other countries, and once again a war started. There was almost no pause, just a few months to be exact, skipping to the Third Great Shinobi War, which had ended not more than just a year ago. However, we now focus on a particular individual. His name was Minato Namikaze, a tall blonde with blue eyes. As he watched silently as a beast in front of him was trying to destroy his village. In his arms he held a small bundle, his child. Minato was a war hero. He played a large part in ending the war, single-handedly. Minato was named the 4th Hokage after the 3rd retired, at the end of the 3rd Great Shinobi War, which was almost a year ago. He was supposed to be the strongest man in the village, with the title of Hokage. However, it was also his duty to keep the village safe. But as a husband and a father, he was not sure if he could save his family tonight. That is when massive chains came up and slammed the beast down into the ground with critical force. Those chains were coming from none other than his wife, Kushina Uzumaki. Despite her just giving birth to their child, her will was unbreaking as she looked right into the nine-tailed eyes without flinching. Just after she gave birth to their beautiful daughter, a man wearing a yellow mask appeared out of a distortion and took their child hostage. Minato had saw his eye. He was a Uchiha. Minato was able to save the child, as Kushina told him to save her. However, the man had taken his wife, and he was able to undo the seal because it was so weakened and bring the beast to the light. Usually, when a Jinchuriki get their tail beast extracted, they die almost instantaneously. However, because she was a Uzumaki and her will and vitality, Kushina was still going on. As she was hanging on barely, Minato teleported towards his wife. Kushina, are you okay? He asks. Minato, I can't hold it back much longer. Her breathing was heavy. I'm going to die anyways. Seal it back inside of me so I can drag it away with me, she said. A grim look was on his face. He knew that it was a bad idea. Even if it works, the Kyuubi will just reform in a few years. Konoha will lose his position and the balance of power will be disturbed. Moreover, we cannot allow it to fall in that masked man's hands. He told his wife. She snapped her head around to glare at him. You better not be thinking what I think you are. I will never forgive you if you place this burden on our child. Not after my son. She paused, a grim look on her face. Minato had a hurt look on his face as well. Their first beautiful boy died hours after he was born. They were truly devastated. It seems like fate would never allow them to spend more than just a few hours with any of their children. Kushina was angry and upset and frustrated. People always scorn Jinchurikis. She couldn't allow him to burden their child with that. However, deep within she knew her husband was right. They just had to trust that their daughter would be able to push through it. Her face was wet with sweat and tears. Her legs were trembling. However, her chains remained strong. She could not allow the beast to get loose. Minato gazed into her eyes as he pleaded. He was my son as well. I loved him too. I do not want to do this any more than you do. But you know, this is the only way. Turning your back on your village and your country is just as bad as abandoning your child. Kushina, you should understand. You saw your own country demise and fall apart. Have faith. She's our daughter. Kushina looked completely defeated as she gazed at the bundle in his arms. Just let me hold her once more. I want to look at her once more before I die. Minato brought his gaze to the crying baby in his arms as he nodded slightly. As soon as Kushina held her, the baby stopped crying. It is almost like she knew she was within her mother's embrace. Pale face with 6 whisker marks on her face, red hair, blue eyes. She had her mother here but her father's eyes. Kushina laughed with tears running down her face. as Minato looked toward the scene before he glared at the beast. Summoning Jutsu. As the Ninetales was trying to get up, a gigantic toad with a tonto smoking a pipe. Boom! It crashed down on the fox. Gamabunta, stop the beast from trying to get up while I seal it. Gamabunta for once looked at the scene, and he had no questions to make. He just remained silent as Minato summoned up an altar. Kushina placed the baby on it. The baby girl started to cry, noticing her mother embrace was gone. As Minato drew the seal on her stomach, I will use this Shikifujin to seal half the Kyuubi within myself and half within Natsumai, using the 8 tetragram sealing formula. Minato, he's too strong for me. Hurry up! Gamabunta was thrown off the next moment. The Ninetale then saw what they were planning to do, and he refused to be sealed ever again. He lashed out his claw, however. The both of them jumped forward, and the claw stabbed right through them. They slammed their feet to the ground, stopping it. The baby stopped crying, looking up at the two people looking down at it. As the both of them were standing there, they gave everything to protect their child. As Kushina started to talk to her daughter, telling her not to be a picky eater, to grow up big and strong. The scene was rather sad. Minato said his words as well, as he was the one to go through the hand signs and summon the Lord of Death. When people arrived towards the scene, the third Hokage to be quite exact, he realized instantaneously what had happened. The look on his face was one of remorse and sadness, as the crying baby was left all alone, losing so much in just a few hours. Countless people had been killed on this night. It will be remembered for ages. Minato Namikaze, the yellow flash of the hidden leaf, had been taken as well on this night. However, he left his legacy in his child, his daughter, Uzumaki Natsumai. However, neither himself or the third Hokage knew that he had another legacy out there. Flashback to some time ago. For the first 4 years of his life, the only adult that he ever saw was a pale-skinned man with slitted eyes. The room that he saw the most was the operating room with a metal table. This boy was known as Naruto Uzumaki. He was currently 6 years old now. He had violet eyes. He was really quiet for a 6-year-old child, as his eyes had that look of innocence befitting his age. He doesn't remember much of the slitted eye man. All that he ever did was cause him pain. He always injected him with painful injections, and they always made him feel weird after a while. However, he didn't think that his life was that horrible. He had a roof over his head, and he was fed daily, so he never complained. However, that changed when the man wearing the white robes and the red hat burst into a lab, followed by a dozen masked men. However, Naruto and one other child was the only one left. After the sick, twisted experiments that the pale-skinned man committed in here, Naruto never knew that he had a name. All he knew that he was called by his tag number, as he never knew that people had name. He was taken to a white room with no windows, along with the other child as well. He remembers seeing the other child in the lab once. A blonde man with a ponytail, probably in his early 20s, stood in front of them. The man saw how nervous they were, as he believed that food would make them open up, at least a bit. So he told him to wait as he came back with 2 bowls. Eat up, he said. However, neither of the boys moved in the slightest. This is ramen. It won't do you any harm. Of course, that is if you don't eat it every day though. He attempted to make a joke, but none of them laughed. Of course, they don't know how to use chopsticks, he thought. Here, I'll help. As he offered, he used the chopsticks as he started to feed them. This was the first time that Naruto has ever eaten something that resembled flavor. And ramen was the most amazing food that he's ever eaten before. Well, he was used to dry packaged food, so to him, it was a shocker. The man saw the look on his face and his wide eyes. He chuckled. It's good, huh? It even had my favorite topping. Naruto Maki, he said, with a smile. Naruto glanced down toward the swirly pattern thing. Naruto, he repeated. Once they were done eating, alright. My name is Yamanaka Inoichi. What are your names? Do you remember anything before you were at that place? His tone was gentle and calm. He called me number 17. The younger boy spoke. I was number 4. The older one said. Numbers, huh? Inoichi said. Well, that won't do at all. Say, what do you guys like the most, he said. With a friendly smile, they were talking, and he did not want to scare them. Both children were quiet for a while, before the younger blonde spoke up. Ramen, he said. Inoichi laughed loudly at the response. Ramen, huh? Alright. How about this? Naruto. Do you like the name Naruto? He said, ruffling the boy's hair. As Naruto nodded, that is when he turned towards the other. What about you? Do you like anything? The other boy was silent for a long while. In that case, how about Tenzo? The child looked up towards him confused. Tenzo? He repeated. Inoichi saw his tone of accepting as he nodded. Alright then, so it's going to be Naruto and Tenzo, he said. After that, Naruto, and a still confused Tenzo, was taken to an orphanage. However, Tenzo mysteriously disappeared one day and would not be seen again for a few years. After that is when he found out his love for all things that were ramen. He might regret being named after a ramen topping in the future, but still. Right now, Naruto loved ramen. The orphanage matron. There was a woman that was in her late 50s. The children just called her Granny. She was the one that took care of them. In the orphanage, there was a box where people can donate to the children. Whenever it was filled, it was open for the children to take the toys that was inside. However, Naruto never took any. So Granny came up to him one day. Naruto, she said, as she knocked and entered the room. When she entered, she found him on the bed. Brown walls. It was a basic room. As he was practicing his writing, he was almost always alone, either by himself practicing his calligraphy, or he was sitting by a tree, watching the river stream. He always liked to sit and listen to the sound of the insects and the birds chirping all around. He did not like to be stuck in a room. After 4 years of being in isolation, he loved to enjoy outside, where the birds, the trees, the river, everything. It was just so peaceful to him. Other kids usually avoided him because he did not speak more than just a few words, and he never showed any interest in playing games with them. So they called him the boring kid. The matron sat across from him. As she looked towards him, I want you to have this, she said. I know that you don't like the toys, so I wanted to give you this. It was a strange object wrapped in a cloth. As he unraveled it to see, it was a brown flute with black highlights. He turned and looked into her eyes, rather surprised. I know that you never knew which day was your birthday, but you came here the 17th of January last year. So if you look at it this way, today is your birthday, she said. This belonged to my mother when I was your age. I loved when she played it. However, I never learned how to play it, but I still kept it with me all this time. Now I want you to have it. Happy birthday, sweetie, she said to him. Naruto felt something stir in his chest. Was this it? Happiness? Was this what happiness feel like? He looked at Granny as she smiled. She patted his head, knowing what he was feeling. As she turned to leave, thank you, she heard. She looked over her shoulder. He was a sweet, nice kid, and she has been trying to make him feel happier. It was the first in his life that he had smiled, and it was so breathtakingly beautiful. That day, somehow, all the trees and flowers around Konoha bloom, so bright and wonderful. It was something that people could not explain. Time skip. October 10th was the first time he experienced true fear. He was in the park, sitting alone on the swing, watching the other kids play. Granny had been pushing him to make some friends, since he did not have any. That is when it happened. As he saw a great fire in the distance, people started panic and scoop their kids up and run for their life. He followed. When he saw it, a gigantic beast. It was a fox. It was destroying everything. He stood motionless in the middle of the street, feeling a strange feeling in his chest. As he watched, the fox was trapped by golden chains. The beast roared as it was tearing up debris and trying to get free. He surely would have died as many debris was sent his way, until a black-haired girl around his age, who was carrying a baby with her, grabbed his hand and pulled him along. He was too shocked to even resist. If his gaze was not focused on the fox, he would have noticed the countless bodies around him. "Come with me," quickly she shouted. She put on a brave face, however. He could see her hands trembling. She was perhaps even more scared than him, but she was still running and holding the baby rather protectively. As Naruto wondered if there would ever be something so important to him that he would protect it with his life. It sounded stupid and made his head hurt at the same time, so he just stopped thinking about it. "Why were you not moving? Do you not want to live?" The girl his age asked him. However, he did not reply to her. He just kept on looking at the baby that she held in her arms. Upon noticing where he was staring, she spoke up. "This is Sasuke, my younger brother." As Naruto turned his gaze, hours passed, and it was all quiet now. The dark-haired girl had left some time ago to go and find their parents. When they all made their way outside, everything was in rumbles around them. People were silent, mourning, as Naruto brought a hand up and placed it on his chest, even though he knew that he didn't have anything to lose. He felt like he lost something very, very important today. He brought his hand up to his face as he touched the wet liquid. He was crying. Why? Time skip. Hiruzen Sarutobi was having an awful day. Yesterday he was at his home, smoking his pipe. His wife was there. And in a single day it all changed. His wife was now deceased. His successor Minato and his wife gave their life to protect the village. Half of the village was in ruins. He just wanted this nightmare to end. He wanted to go home to see his wife greeting him there. However, this was now the new reality. And his wife was deceased. And she wouldn't be there. A council meeting was called. All the clan heads had survived the attack. His old friends and now advisors, Homura, Kaharu, and Danzo Shiramura were also there as well. There was also a baby in a crib in the corner sleeping. Konoha has lost its Hokage. 12 hours ago, the Kyuubi was somehow able to escape its previous Jinchuriki, Kushina Uzumaki. Minato and Kushina did not survive, unfortunately, but they saved us all by sealing the beast within this child. Hiruzen had a face, as everyone knew that it was obvious that he was exhausted. He seemed to have aged at least 10 years, the bags under his eyes. Everyone was quiet. It was one thing to hear about the Hokage's death, but to have it confirmed, well, it was bad. This child, is it the fourth Hokage's? Homura asks. It was not well known, but the only Uzumaki within the village was in a relationship with Minato, so it was not that far-fetched. Hiruzen was quiet, as everyone draw their own conclusions. Konoha has lost a lot of its shinobis. We don't need other nations sniffing around in a moment of weakness. Give me the guardianship of the Jinchuriki, and I will train this child to become the most powerful shinobi of Konoha. Its perfect weapon. It was Danzo who said that, and no one was surprised. Almost everyone that was there knew exactly what he meant by that. Hiruzen quickly interjected though. I cannot let you do that, Danzo, he said. Even if what you say is right, a Jinchuriki's true strength come from their emotions. Your methods might look promising on the surface, but it will be counterproductive in the long run. Perhaps Hiruzen was being a bit biased because of the child lineage, but the three had known Hiruzen for long enough to know that he would not budge on this. Danzo stared at him with his lone eye. However, he did not speak again. The civilians and the shinobis below Jonin rank will be prohibited from this knowledge. We all know how Jinchurikis are treated. People fear what they don't understand, and fear turned to anger and hatred. And if this child was hated by the village, and turned to hate back the village, it would be truly disastrous. The Nara clan head Fugaku nodded, but it didn't seem like everyone present agreed with it. No one could tell whether Uchiha or Hyuga clan head, or Danzo was thinking for that matter, because of their stoic looks. If they had any objections, they did not voice it, as other matters were discussed. It will be a long while before things are back to normal. A very long while. Time skip. Hiruzen was now alone, as he said one word, a name, Jiraiya. A white-haired man materialized. I'll find that bastard, he said with gritted teeth. I'll find the bastard that did this. He was late. He was ashamed while his student was out there fighting for his life. He was peeping on ladies in the bathhouse. And when he arrived, Minato was already gone. Hiruzen was silent for a long while until he spoke. The fort is gone. Konoha needs a new Hokage. One that can... No. Jiraiya cut him off before he could finish. A master does not succeed his own student. And I'm not even half as worthy to be Hokage as Minato was. It seems you will have to retake the seat, Sensei, he said, with a sad smile on his face. It seems like it, Hiruzen said. So, do you wish to see your goddaughter, he asked. Jiraiya stepped towards the crib. A bittersweet smile was on his face. It actually hurt him just to look at her. She looked so much like her parents. I know, Jiraiya. I know. His sensei said, already knowing what he was thinking about, just by the look on his face. Will you take her with you? Kakashi is too young, and they name you her godfather for this precise reason after all. I can't, Sensei. I'm constantly on the move. I can't take her with me. If she's with me, then her life will be in more danger than it already will be in. And Orochimaru is still out there. I will look after her anyway though, he said. The logic was sound, as Hiruzen did not argue with it. Well then, I suppose it's time I return to my research. I'm sure Minato would want me to continue writing his favorite book. His voice cracked as he tried to laugh, to get back to a sense of normality. As he gazed out towards the window and stepped towards it, Hiruzen didn't even have to see his face to know that his student was in tears. Farewell, Sensei, he said, as he leaped through the window. Hiruzen gazed toward the sleeping child, as his eyes softened. Minato Kushina. Watch over her, he said. Time skip. 4 months later. It has been 4 months since the Kyuubi attack. After a large amount of damage control, Konoha was recovering somewhat. Since a large number of shinobis were killed in the attack, the kids were given the chance to join the academy at an early age, and Naruto had taken up on that offer. He did not want to feel weak ever again. That feeling that he felt, a feeling of hopelessness, it was truly terrifying. Thus, he voiced his decision to join the academy to Granny, and she was not very convinced. Over the past few months, he's become one of her favorite kids, and he was always insisting on helping her with either the laundry, the groceries, or helping her in the kitchen, as she asked him if this was what he wanted. Yes, I really want to be a ninja. I want to be strong as well, he said, a look of determination in his eyes. Honestly, She just didn't want him to go because as soon as the orphan get into the academy, they are eligible for a stipend to rent an apartment until they graduate. And Naruto would be placed in that position as well, if he wished to. As for Naruto, he wondered if this was what it felt like to have a mother. It made him happy, but she overdid it sometimes. She sighed. Alright, fine, she said as she roughly is here. We'll get you admitted into the ninja academy. As she gave him a sad smile. As Naruto looked up towards her with a smile, full of teeth, that made her laugh. Why are you laughing? Asked Naruto. She giggled. It's nothing. I just love seeing you smile, she said. Not telling him that the missing tooth made him look so much cuter. She was going to miss him so much. Time skip. The academy started in the summer. As Naruto chose to live in the small apartment, the stipend was just enough for him to buy groceries and his monthly rent and save a little for other things. They were required to pass the aptitude test, as Naruto had no problem in that department though. He was currently wearing a white t-shirt with grey shorts. There was a lot of children present. Most of them were with their parents, but a fair bit was standing alone. He felt somewhat nervous as he noticed that there was a lot of people. That is when he saw the dark-haired girl who had saved his life on that night. There was a man behind her who he believed was her father, and her mother who was carrying her younger brother. The baby kept on whining. It wanted to be held by his sister. However, she simply smiled apologetically and said something. The baby pouted and turned away, as it found Naruto in the crowd somehow. The girl followed the baby gaze as she saw Naruto. Upon seeing him, she waved at him. Naruto, rather embarrassed that he was caught staring, snapped his gaze to where the Hokage was giving his speech. Congratulations everyone, Hiruzen said. His gaze paused on Naruto's hair for a moment as he looked at the child. However, he blinked away the impossible thought as he returned back to his speech. As Naruto could swear that the Hokage was staring at him for a moment there. Or maybe he was seeing things, he thought. After the speech was over, the parents left as the children were taken to their class. As Naruto sat in the back corner, the dark-haired girl sat in the front. She looked at him once, before she puffed her cheeks up and turned away. As Naruto raised a confused eyebrow, what did he do to get on her bad side, he thought. Soon, a rather large man with brown hair, wearing the standard uniform, entered the class. Congratulations to all of you. From today on forward, we will start our curriculum. I hope all of you will work hard and focus and become excellent shinobis. My name is Deikuko, Funino, rank Chunin, and I will be your teacher for the foreseeable future. Let us begin with some introductions, shall we, he said. Just your name will be for now. Soon enough, everyone started to speak as Naruto watched the dark-haired girl got to her feet. Uchiha Izumi, she said. The moment she said that, many of the students started to whisper amongst themselves. Uchiha? I heard they're very stuck up. She's pretty. I bet she's only here because she's a part of a big clan. Izumi glared at the last one, but she ignored the first two. Enough! You're not here to gossip or spread rumors. The sensei spoke up. Next, he said. A girl with two markings on her face spoke next. I'm Inuzaka Hana, she said. Soon it was his turn as Naruto got up, he saw Izumi looking towards him from the corner of her eye. I'm Naruto, he said. I hope we get along, as he bowed a bit, just like he was taught. Some of them started to laugh. Wait, he's named Fish Cake? What kind of parents name their kid Fish Cake? Even the sensei was failing to hide his smile as Naruto sat down embarrassed. Who said that my parents were there to name me, he said. However, the laughter drowned out his voice, but Izumi was looking at him though. After the introductions, they talk about the essentials for being a ninja, ranks, jutsus and all that. Soon it was midday, and they were all taken out for lunch. As he saw everyone forming groups, Granny would nag me to make some friends, he thought, as he sat under a tree. The moment he opened his lunchbox, He saw two pair of feet in front of him. He looked up to see that it was the same dark-haired girl, Izumi. I was shocked, she said. I figured that you were mute. You never spoke to me when you first met. And besides, it's rather rude to ignore someone that is waving at you, she said. I was just startled, said Naruto. He ignored the last statement, as he did not look into her eyes. Uh-huh, she said. Her tone was laced with sarcasm. Thanks for that day, he said. If not for you, I would have probably died. It's alright. If you're really thankful, we can just say that you owe me a favor, she said, with a grin, as Naruto smiled awkwardly. Anyway, I'll see you later. It was nice meeting you, fish cake. She ran away laughing as she saw him pouting. What a weird girl, he thought to himself. Once the lunch was over, they were brought in a clearing. We will be having basic spars to make out your standing. Let us see. Naruto and Izumi, step in the middle and make the unison sign before you begin. You will stop when I say so, or if your back touch the ground. Both of them copied the sign that he showed them as they took their positions. As Naruto took a breath as he faced her, he slipped into a makeshift stance. She still had her hand extended forward. Her body was still and unmoving. The moment the instructor said begin, the warmth faded away from her eyes. It concerned him a bit, but he still rushed forward. It all happened in a split moment. One moment he was coming at her, the next moment he was on his back, as her fingers were still extended forward, right at his face. He looked at her completely shocked. Everyone was completely silent. No one dared make a sound as they watched. What just happened? The kids who had made fun of her earlier were in complete shock as they couldn't believe it. She got up as she held her hand out towards him. Naruto could not believe it. He would have never imagined this skinny girl, who was probably a year younger than him, was this strong. He forgot to breathe as he suddenly coughed. I'm weak, he thought to himself, as he took her hand. He got to his feet as he started to dust off his pants. He did not look her in the eyes. Uchiha Izumi win, the instructor said. The other kids were still in shock, but it was expected though her skills would put some genins to shame. Well, it was kind of expected from the Uchiha princess. She was definitely someone to keep an eye open for. Soon all the spars were concluded, and it was very obvious that all the children from the ninja clans had an advantage over the civilian students. As the last of the tests was completed, the last one being the throwing of the kunais, Naruto only got one, and it was not even near the center. As the ranking was placed up, Izumi was on top by a vast margin, and Naruto was in the bottom 10. Soon it was even and the class was over. Everyone was talking to their newly made friends. As Naruto got up from his seat, his gaze was down as he wasn't talking. When he was outside of the academy grounds, he started to run, and he did not look back. Izumi saw him as she frowned. Was I too tough on him? Maybe. I should have taken it a bit easier, she thought. As for Naruto, he ran. He ran and ran and ran until he arrived at the river bank. He collapsed on his butt as he gazed out towards the river in front of him, leaning on the tree. The branches seemed to move towards him, almost like they were comforting him, as he proceeded to take a very deep breath. I knew that I wouldn't be the best, but I never thought there would be this much of a difference. It was humiliating. He had to get stronger, but how would he achieve that? He would need some basic guidance, it seems. And if he wanted to surpass the kids at the academy, he would have to do some extra. Maybe try his hand at the library. It was rare for the students to show any interest in books, so he would not be disturbed. With that, he nodded to himself. That sounded like a solid plan, as he pulled out his flute. There was no one waiting for him back at home after all, so he could just lie here and relax. Time skip. Uchiha. Izumi was born on July 9 from Fugaku Uchiha, the clan head, and his wife Mikoto Uchiha. When she was born, her father tried his absolute best to feel disappointed and act distant because he wanted a boy, an heir. However, upon gazing into her innocent eyes, Uchiha Fugaku, who was known to be as stuck up as they come, was reduced to a man-child. It was rumored around the clan that when she said her first word, that was Papa, he cried. He was able to get his father instincts under control as she grew, but his love for his daughter was unbreakable. Her mother was not any better, always dressing her in different clothing and gushing over her. Her best friend, Kushina Uzumaki, was taken by her as well, where she loved her as if she was her own daughter. It played a large part to help Kushina recover from her first child's death. That is why Mikoto called her over constantly, so she could help her through it, and Izumi could help her through it as well. However, the Uchiha clan was split. The older generation believed that she was only good to be married off to another Uchiha, a strong male of their preference. It is because in the Uchiha clan, even though the girls are trained well, they are expected to become stay-at-home wife when they get married. On the other hand, the younger generation had a more open point of view. It was also rumored that when one of the old councilmen brought up this idea to Fugaku, he flat out refused, and he also threatened to cause some bodily harm if they ever even think that he could use his daughter to marry off to some guy. But it is said that it's just rumors. Well, who knows? When Izumi was 3 years old, her father started her training. After some polite discussion with his wife, he was pleasantly surprised though. His daughter was a genius. She picked up things that no 3-year-old child would ever have picked up. His chest almost exploded from pride. When she was 4 years old, her younger brother Sasuke was born, and Fugaku was happy. His superior genes would make his son a talented prodigy as well, and he can finally shut up those damn old coots, because he now had a son. When Izumi saw her younger brother, she promised that she would protect him with everything she had, and Sasuke took to her rather quickly as well. As we traveled straight towards her day of joining the academy, when she came home, her father brought her somewhere, as she wasn't sure where he was bringing her. They came across a large clearing, littered with countless small tombstones, and a big red one. These are all the people that was lost in the previous war. We won, but not without a cost. The countless dead were buried here. For some of them, their bodies were not found, while for some only a part of their bodies remained to bury for families. Some of them were young as 9, fresh out of the academy, Fugaku said, with a solemn look on his face. "Father, why are you showing me all of this?" she asked. Her voice was trembling. She was not used to death. Despite watching it so closely during the Kyuubi attack, she was only acting for her brother's safety, purely on adrenaline. Fugaku's eyes softened as he was still looking ahead. As shinobi life is never safe. We're in constant danger even when we are at our homes. We might feel that we're safe, but it's just an illusion of safety. A shinobi must constantly be on their guard. A good shinobi always learn how to distrust people. Those are rules I go by, and it would be wise for you to do so as well, he said, as he placed his hand on her head. You've just started your journey as a shinobi by joining the academy. From this day onwards, don't expect me to treat you like a child. His voice was harsh all of a sudden, as his hand clamped down on her shoulder. This is the cold reality of the world that we live in. Her face remained the same. She did not show it if she felt uncomfortable in this situation. She could not understand. She thought that shinobis were supposed to protect, and yet so many of them were killed, and they were so young. "Father, why do we kill?" she said. "What drives a person to kill another? How can someone kill someone knowing their families are at home waiting for them. I I just don't understand, she said. Fugaku was actually proud. He thought that she might start crying. However, it showed that she can be mature at her age. Unfortunately, that is something I cannot tell you. You will have to find the answer for yourself one day. She did not speak for a long while as he walked back. That is when she paused. Father, do you hear that sound? She said. Fugaku glanced around. What sound? He said. It is probably some animals. We are still far within the woods. I'll be back later, as she suddenly made her way off in the direction where she heard it. Fugaku raised an eyebrow, but he shook his head and started to make his way back home. He doubted that he had to worry. His daughter rarely got lost, if ever. She followed the sound, which was like a sweet melody. It was so enchanting. She then noticed the trees. They were swaying, almost dancing to the melody. She saw as a baby deer was sleeping with its mother. And there was a lot of birds on the branches, and the flowers felt so alive. There was a sense of peace and calm in the air. It was phenomenal. As she followed the sound into a clearing, and what she saw shocked her. The sun was set as Naruto stopped playing his flute. It was getting late, and he supposed that he should head back to his apartment now. He started to get up. Whoa, you're really good. The place was dark. Naruto was terrified. He thought it was a ghost. He was extremely afraid of ghosts. How did you fight something that you cannot touch? He frantically looked left and right, the voice sounding like a kid, and he tried to find where it was coming from. Why did it sound so familiar though? Hey, I'm up here. He glanced up to see the girl that beat him today. She was on a tree, swaying her legs back in front. How long have you been watching me? He asked, suspiciously. Long enough to hear your beautiful song. You are really good. She grinned at him as she proceeded to wink. Naruto's cheeks were red. It's rude to spy on people, he said to her. And who said I was spying? She said. I just heard a sound, and I came here to investigate. But I did not want to disturb you, so I simply remained quiet. Tuh, says the stalker, said Naruto. Hey, she said, as he turned his gaze away from her. You beat me pretty easy today. You're pretty strong. So, oh, she said, intervening. Sorry about today. I didn't mean to. Please be my friend, he said, and help me get stronger as well, as he bowed at her. Izumi was confused. She thought he would say something accusing and petty, but instead he wanted to be friends. Well, it's just as he scratched his cheek. Damn it. Why is this so hard? He thought to himself. Is this because it's my first time making friends? Okay. Naruto snapped his gaze up. Oh, okay, he said. But, no buts, she said. I know, let's make a deal. Since friends are supposed to help each other, I'll help you get stronger, and in return, you'll have to buy me Pocky every Sunday. As Naruto deadpanned looking at her. She did not wait for a response. Great, I'll see you tomorrow, she said, as she turned and made her way off. If you would have seen her face, you would have known that she had a happy expression. What her father showed her had put her in a bad mood. That is why she had run off so quickly. But now she was feeling much better. Naruto had a big smile on his face. His first friend, he thought to himself. As he ran home, time skip, Naruto ducked under a punch as he jumped away. As he looked to see his opponent throwing wooden shurikens towards him, as he deflected them all with a stick. He could not buy a real weapon because he was a student, so he had to improvise. He could no longer see his opponent anywhere as he started to grow tense as he gazed around, trying to find his sparring partner. That is when he had to jump over a leg sweep. He threw a fake punch. However, his opponent reacted and expected it. As he was hit in the midsection, he ended up on his back, wheezing and curling up in himself. You hit really hard, senpai, he said, as he took breaths. It was currently winter in the land of fire, and it's been snowing around Konoha heavily for the past last week. There was a thick blanket of snow that covered the clearing and the trees. He was wearing a white jacket with black stripes, an orange shirt underneath, with black pants. As Naruto glared at the person standing over him, with their arms on their hip. Man, the both of you are getting so strong for your age. I'm gonna start to have to push myself in order to stay ahead. As Naruto started to limp to the river once he got up. I can't see myself surpassing you, Shisui-senpai. You're only 4 years older than me and yet, you're already a Jonin. I'm not even a Genin yet, said Naruto. Ever since that day, 2 years ago, Naruto started to train with Izumi. The next day he went to the library, and he took out several issues on Shinobi history and basics. He was very inspired by Tobirama Senju and Madara Uchiha. Tobirama for his ingenious intellect, and Madara for his absolute, destructive battle powers. Many of the modern day jutsu was based on stuff that Tobirama created. For Madara though, its name was enough to inspire terror in a full-grown man, even after many years. Another person that he greatly respected was Minato Namikaze. Even though he was only a shinobi for about a year, he was the strongest shinobi of his time. Until now, he was the only person to have a flea on sight order to his name. But it was due to the fact that Minato was able to kill the Kyuubi, a being that Naruto feared rather greatly, was the reason why he respected him out of the others. When they first started to train together, he was nothing more than just a punching bag for Izumi. But as the days blurs into weeks and weeks into months, he started to catch up. He started to run in the mornings and the evenings, strengthening his knuckles by punching and kicking poses. After a few months in training, he was able to call upon his chakra. One such day when they were sparring, Uchiha Shisui noticed and invited them for a spar. Shisui was a very humble and down-to-earth individual. Short dark hair and well-defined eyelashes. However, they could not even land a blow on him. But something about the both of them caught his interest, and he took them on as a mentor. Since then, they spar and did survival exercises with him whenever they could. Over time, he became a brother-like figure for the both of them. Sometime, Izumi brought along Sasuke because Sasuke seemed to love her more than he loved their parents. Sasuke was a cute kid, but he had a borderline antagonistic relationship with Naruto, to their surprise. Shisui had told them that ninjutsu was off limits for now, so they couldn't do much in that department. But that isn't to say that he did not teach them any. Izumi was 7 and Naruto was 8. At that time, they mastered all the Academy 3. Being a Uchiha, Izumi already could do the Great Fireball Jutsu, as Naruto got her to teach him, but he wasn't as good. The Shadow Clone was pretty handy for them, which they learned as well, because they were already ahead of the Academy, so they didn't have to go every day. They sent a clone in their place. They were all amazed when Naruto made his clone on the first try, even though it took Izumi a while. Shisui told him that he should look into the multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu, which takes a lot more chakra, because it turns out that Naruto had a lot of chakra. As Shisui stood behind the boy, he spoke. It won't take so long. I was given a field promotion, so I was different. However, I believe that you would be a chunin by the time you're my age. Shisui grinned at Naruto as Naruto skipped a stone across the river as Shisui threw one that hit his one. Don't be a show-off, said Naruto. I can do it too, you know. By all means, show me, Shisui said. Alright then, said Naruto. Just watch me. As Naruto threw the first stone, he picked another until both boys were currently in the river, resurfacing. As they saw Izumi in the background, she was holding her stomach and laughing. Sasuke was there as well in an oversized jacket, clapping. As Naruto came out, his teeth were chattering. What are you laughing at, Chibi? He said to Sasuke, as he could swear that Sasuke smirked at him. You two were taking long, so I came to get you. Sasuke was kind enough to accompany me. Right, Sasuke-chan, Izumi said, as Sasuke kept on laughing and clapping. Your brother is not nice, said Naruto. My Sasuke is an angel, she said. Yeah, right, said Naruto. Naruto blinked as he noticed something. Where did Shisui-senpai went? He said that he was gonna show me something cool today. Well, he used a substitution jutsu and disappeared. When I pushed him into the river, Izumi said. Tuh, it was stupid to think that I would get the drop on him. Anyway, since the academy teachers now know that we can use the shadow clone, which is your fault, they've been talking about an early promotion. I already told my father, and he was intrigued when I told him there was another student also graduating early. More so that I had a friend. Now, he wants to meet you, she said, giving a slightly forced smile. Sasuke was pretending to play in the snow, but his eyes were fixed on Naruto. It wasn't my fault that my clone picked up a fight and got itself dispelled as the fight dragged on. Some of them has entirely different personalities compared to me. It's annoying. However, what can you do? Come on, said Naruto, let's go meet your father. Just a fair warning, she said. He can be a bit eccentric when it comes to me, okay? As Naruto raised an eyebrow as he whipped his head, allowing the cold water to splash on Sasuke, as it was really intentional. Naruto glanced over his shoulder, with a grin on his face towards Sasuke. How bad can it be anyway? Let's go. I hope you don't jinx yourself, Izumi said, as they made their way off. Time skip. Naruto was already nervous. The scowl seemed to just be fixed in this man's face, and his stern eyes looking down towards him. 3 minutes already passed, and no one has said a single word so far. The three of them were sitting in Fugaku's study. Nearby was a table with 2 cups of tea, as Naruto kept on looking at Fugaku and he did not look away. Fugaku had been shocked when his wife told him that his daughter had made a friend. Typically, it wouldn't be a big problem. His daughter was very cheerful and would attract many friends if it was any normal situation. But it wasn't a normal situation. Ever since that night, 4 years ago, the village higher-ups has been slowly distancing the Uchiha clan from the village center. It was a common rumor going through the Shinobi ranks that the Uchiha clan was behind the Kyuubi attack. Majority of them had saw the Sharingan spinning in the beast's eyes on that night. During the attack as well, the clan was asked to get the people to the shelters, even though they could be very helpful on the front lines. And then the question was asked, where was your clan that night? A seat of distrust was thrown, right in the center. Even members that were good teammates with the Uchihas started to distrust their own teammates. Other clans started to distance themselves. Rumors has been spreading more and more, he was sure that it was those damn 3 elders. Ever since the village was founded, the Senjus were always on top, even though Madara and Hashirama built the village together. The Uchihas was always set aside. Tobirama Senju had placed them in charge of the police force as a sign of trust, with them being in control of a military faction, but they were never on top. But slowly but surely, the Senju clan withered away, and now they were the ones left, the strongest clan, despite what the Hyugas might claim. Tobirama Senju was not a fan of the Uchihas, and one of his his students, Shamira Danzo, took to his ideals very well, and that man distrusted the Uchiha clan on every single terms. Danzo is afraid that once the Uchihas gain too much power, it would be far difficult to contain them, and that he couldn't be able to do so. He's been having his root agents, his private envoy, watch them like hawks. He was not sure how long the clan would be patient for, but if things get worse, they might have a coup on their hands. However, for his daughter, he was not surprised that they want her to graduate early, but to hear that there was someone else that was from no clan, no past training, it was rather surprising. So that was two things. Either the boy was a born prodigy, or he was a trained spy. And you could not trust anyone when done so, or recruiting young, root agents. Mikoto was too innocent to think about that. She would say that he is paranoid. But he did not think so. Can someone say something? It's been 10 minutes since we sat down, and no one has said a word yet, Izumi said. Quiet, Izumi, said Fugaku. His eyes were still fixated on Naruto. I need to talk to your friend. Alone. Izumi looked towards Naruto as she seemed worried. But she relaxed once he nodded to her, as she got to her feet. Fine, I'll leave you two alone, she grumbled, as she shut the sliding door. Fugaku kept on looking into Naruto's eyes, but Naruto matched his gaze with his own, not looking away. I can read a person by looking into their eyes, but I will not comment on that. Now tell me, what do you want with my daughter, he said. After watching him for the past 10 minutes, he could tell that this boy was no spy. Or maybe he was that good, Fugaku thought to himself. She's my dearest friend, Naruto said. She saved my life once, and I have yet to repay her. I'll walk with her to the depths of hell if she asks me to. Naruto panicked at the last part. While that was true, he did not want to say it out loud, it just slipped out. Fugaku was now smirking, as Naruto thought the man had calmed down. It is impossible to lie to me, with these eyes. The man's eyes were now red, with 3 tomos in each. Now, for my next question, he said. His smirk widened in a malicious way as Naruto gulped. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next portion, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share this with your friends and your social media platform. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.